Welcome back to Behind the Books with Ken and Sandy. Today, we're joined by David Morrison from Count, a global accounting technology company now launching into the New Zealand market.
David's no stranger to the bookkeeping industry, though. Many listeners will recognise him from his years with Thank You Payroll, and he's been connected to the New Zealand bookkeeping community for a long time.
Today, we're talking about why Count is entering the New Zealand market, what makes the platform different, and what David thinks the future looks like for bookkeepers as technology and AI continue to evolve.
David, it's so great to have you with us. Do you want to say a quick hello?
Kia ora koutou. It's really excited to be here chatting with you both today, and super excited to be still engaging with the bookkeeping community, but with a different hat on. So it's been a wild ride since I left Thank You Payroll in July last year and joined Count I think about October and November last year. So last sort of 8-9 months has been pretty full on.
Did you actually think you'd be back when you did, because I remember the farewells and we were sad you were going from Thank You Payroll. Did you think you were going to come back?
No, not at the time I left. And, I was actually saying goodbye to different audiences going, it's been great working with you all and hopefully our paths will cross again in the future. And it just happened that future wasn't so far away. So it's exciting to be coming back and being able to do something that's going to deliver even more value to the bookkeeping community than what we were doing with Thank You Payroll.
We have a really exciting story about how we knew you were back as well, don't we, Ken?
Yes, we do. Do you want to
We
share
were
that quickly, Sandy?
Ken can't remember it maybe. We
No,
were
I do remember
organising
it. I remember it. It was in an email.
Yeah, we were organising a conference last year and we'd just started talking to Matt and Chris from Count, and then they did an email intro to their new person in New Zealand, and it was like, is this the David Morrison? Like, is he back? And then you just got completely dumped in it, deep end, like, I think it was like, what, 3 or 4 weeks before conference, and you just, yeah, you got steamrolled into that one.
Oh, not at all. It was good fun. It was, great to be able to kind of step back in. And the cool thing was I already knew so much or so many in the community. And I already knew quite a bit about what we've been doing with Count because I've been chatting with the guys. When I was at Thank You Payroll, actually, I've been chatting with them for over a year. So I knew the Count journey as it was happening.
That's so cool. It's so interconnected in New Zealand, isn't it? Like,
We're a village.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly. So, David, you've been around in the bookkeeping and payroll space for years now. What originally drew you into this industry?
We might have to
Uh,
stop saying for years because that means that, like, for
Actually,
yeah,
did it on purpose to emphasize
yeah.
years.
You don't look a day older than 25, David. Looking
oh, there's a
great.
bit of grey
He
if you look
really doesn't.
close.
He really doesn't.
Hey. So I mean, I basically got drawn into the industry through my involvement at Thank You Payroll. I've been working prior to Thank You Payroll. I'd been working in the internet space with Internet New Zealand on and off for about 7 years. But I was really drawn to at that point the industries that have the ability to give back and build sort of social enterprise business models. And that was what drew me into Thank You Payroll was their kind of values, their social enterprise structure and building good into their business models. And so I was really excited to work with them for about 4 years, evolving the business and doing a lot of work in terms of growing the culture of the business, supporting our clients, and then also shaping the business model so that it actually could continue to do good and support charities in a really meaningful way. So that's what got me into the industry. And then I think, funnily enough, when I started at Thank You Payroll, it was within about 3 weeks of starting that we ended up at a conference as well. And got to sort of start meeting customers directly face to face. And then one thing I love about the bookkeeping industry is really, really good at providing very detailed critical feedback, which is a fantastic opportunity for improving products and services. So, got some really good feedback to work with, right out the gate.
Did you, when you took the role at Thank You Payroll, obviously a payroll company, did you realize you would have so much involvement with the bookkeeping community?
No, not at all. No, not at all. So I honestly thought I was coming into a simple um, software as a service business. So a simple tech business that was providing payroll software for about 8,000 businesses around and charities around the country. And then what I discovered was that, and I didn't know enough about the industry to realize that Thank You Payroll was actually a payroll intermediary, which means that they actually process the gross payroll from all of its customers. So not only were we providing software as a service for the payroll, we were actually handling the entire payroll for 8,000 organizations. So we were handling around 130 million a month in client payrolls for over 30,000 employees across weekly, fortnightly, and monthly pays. So that kind of ramped up the risk profile of the role, and what I was actually accountable for, which was much larger than I originally expected. But rose to the challenge, and really enjoyed working in it.
So it was a lovely surprise.
It was a surprise.
Yeah. And David, how did the Thank You Payroll experience shape your understanding of bookkeepers?
Twofold. So I already had a bit of an understanding of the role of bookkeepers. My beautiful wife Yvonne actually runs her own bookkeeping business and started a bookkeeping business when our children were really young at primary school, and so I got to see firsthand, what that involved, albeit not necessarily understanding what she was actually doing. I have a much deeper understanding of that now. So I had some understanding there, but I think the Thank You Payroll experience helped me understand just how much the role of a bookkeeper is really valued by businesses, and particularly those that specialize in payroll services, because it's such a tricky space to navigate and to get right and to keep compliant. And so having specialists either on staff or that you can contract to was an area that we realized was just so important.
I have to ask, because just before I asked you about, bookkeepers and payroll and not realizing that was a community, when you realized you were going to be so involved in the bookkeeping community through a payroll software company, did your wife laugh at you? Like, a little bit of a, duh, what do you think I do all day kind of thing?
There was a bit of that. And the cool thing is that she actually, she's experienced in pretty much all of the major payroll products. And so, I was able to really get some good insight in terms of, where Thank You Payroll could evolve and improve and, do things better.
Did you get a lot of, this is terrible, we're going into marriage counseling here, but I can just imagine, right, because I would do this to my husband. You've gone into work and you've gone, I've got a really good idea. And did the team go, did Yvonne tell you that one? Or did you think of that yourself? Like,
Yeah, there was probably some of that. There's certainly a lot of, and also just with a lot of relationships I built, a lot of people would come to me directly with thoughts and ideas, and that's probably just exponentially increased now that I'm with Count, because we're actually providing the tooling to support bookkeepers and their practices and their clients, and so we have lots of day-to-day conversations around what would make my wife's world better through the tools that she uses. So I have get some great insights in terms of how to make the bookkeeping space a better experience when it comes to tech.
it must be so helpful as well having that experience on tap, right? Like if you're struggling with something, you can be like, hey, what do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do need to kind of schedule some of those conversations because we both have jobs to do.
Does she charge you? Is it billable time for her consulting?
No,
I was actually going to ask that. Like, is it billable time or is it like, okay, I'm going to give you some advice, but it's a trip to Fiji next month?
See,
I
this
don't
is
give
the
her
difference.
ideas.
Yeah, this is the
She's
difference.
in the,
between
she's
Ken
in the
and I.
room listening. So we're getting ideas here.
See, this is the difference between Ken and I. Like, because I knew what where she was going with that then. And I was thinking, I would have negotiated you cooking dinner for my advice. She's gone straight to Fiji. Like,
I'm sure we support each other in lots of different ways.
yeah. That's a very
A mutual
political answer.
relationship. Yeah.
So anyway, back on track. Look, I'm keeping us back on track today. Yay,
Well done.
girl. Yes, I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, so you left Thank You Payroll. Yvonne was probably like, oh, thank God I don't have any payroll questions anymore. And then you got approached by Count and she was like, oh my God, now I'm going to have to learn accounting software. But what actually attracted you to Count other than Matt and Chris being awesome, because they're two pretty awesome guys, right? Like what
agree.
made you think, oh, I'm going to stop my little sabbatical going on? You were on like a sabbatical, weren't you?
Yeah, I kind of finished with Thank You Payroll in July last year. I'm taking about 3-4 months off. Just to really deep dive into have a bit of a break, but also just play in the AI space. So I went really deep and built a whole bunch of different tools and just to see what I could do as a non-developer, with all of this new technology. And so that was a super helpful grounding for me. But the thing that attracted me to Count, I think, was because I'd started chatting with them during my Thank You Payroll tenure. I think it was just around that aspiration to do something at a global level, and also not shy of taking on a big challenge. There's some big, well-established incumbents both here in New Zealand and in the US. Been in place for well over 20 years, massive kind of majority market shares. And not being afraid of kind of shaking that up and doing something a little bit different. I've had a pretty wide and varied career, but one of the things I hadn't done is actually become part of a startup. So I've been in lots of leadership and management roles. In 2023, I took on ownership of Do Good Jobs. I took on an existing business to grow and evolve that. But this was my first opportunity of getting into a startup with some really solid startup experience with the co-founders and with some strong accounting experience with Matt, who's Nelson based. So, there's a whole package that kind of attracted me to it.
Is that how you kind of got approached, I guess? Like, did you know Matt already?
No, I didn't know Matt at all. Weird story. So
I
I'm a
love a
member
weird
of
story.
Story time.
So I'm a member of the Hutt Chamber of Commerce, and I know the former CEO there really well. And there was a local councillor of the Lower Hutt City Council, a guy called Brady, who's actually friends with Chris Smith, the co-founder of Count. And they were friends when Chris was living in New Zealand, because Chris's co-founder spent about 10 years here in Wellington, started his first two startups here, went to Vic Uni, kind of had a really solid established life. Befriended Brady, and he was chatting to Brady about what he was going to be doing with Count and coming to New Zealand. And Brady mentioned it to the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who then knew this things that I was involved in with Thank You Payroll. And he's like, "Oh, you should talk to David." This convoluted string of relationships led Chris and I on a call with Chris going, "Hey, I'm Chris, spent some time in Wellington, live in Seattle, doing this cool Count thing, keen to talk about it." And so I was in my CEO at Thank You Payroll role, and I was going, "Hey, actually, it'd be really cool if we, as a payroll company, could, integrate with a new product on the market and do something a little bit different compared to the others." So that's where that started. So this kind of random conversation, and then it just evolved. And then when I left Thank You Payroll, I said to the team at Count, I'm taking a break for several months. I'll surface sort of around September, October. If you're in a space where, you want sort of my expertise, and then I'm, be keen to have a chat. So that's what we did.
That is
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
fantastic. Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned that Chris lived in New Zealand for 10 years, and I forgot where I got this information from, but Chris's wife is also from New Zealand, right?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. So because Cat is already established in the US, is that the reason why you guys moved to New Zealand next, or
Because
are there
that's
other
not a
factors?
common choice, right? Like for a US company
Yeah.
to branch out into New
Yeah.
Zealand, where most of the people in the US don't know where we are.
I think so definitely that New Zealand connection was, a natural kind of linkage for choosing New Zealand as one of the markets. But for Count, the aspiration is to be a global accounting solution provider. And New Zealand is a really excellent market for learning rapidly from a client base. So we've got a fairly tech literate communities in our bookkeepers and in businesses, and we tend to adopt technology quite rapidly. And also, so being able to bring on customers quickly into a platform, gather feedback, improve and refine. So New Zealand is where we're really polishing the product, and the US will be where we'll scale it ultimately. But for me, I see New Zealand as our beachhead for Asia Pacific. The goal is to grow well beyond New Zealand. So once we're established here, we'll be looking at other countries in the Asia Pac region to then move Count into as well.
I have a funny story.
I
And
like
ready
Go
funny
for
on.
it?
stories.
Go on.
Well, it's funny to me. But, as you know, there is an accounting software that was established in New Zealand, and they're a major player in the field now. Probably started in Asia Pacific. A number of years ago, before I had children, I worked at a chartered accounting firm. I worked in the audit team there, and I vividly remember our managing partner. So they were a predominantly God, look, I was trying to be discreet and not say the names. We were predominantly an MYOB practice, and Xero hadn't quite taken off at that point. And I vividly remember the managing partner talking in one of our staff meetings about how Xero would never survive and it wasn't the way of the future, and we needed to stay with MYOB because that was his thinking. And he was like, I think they'd just gone onto the share market or something, like something had prompted him to say that. And he was like, nah, they're going to collapse. They're not going to survive. Now look at us. There's not just two major players in the field, is there? There's so many coming out because
there's a lot of them now.
we're so open to technology in New Zealand, like you say.
And I think it's around, New Zealand's been a country that's adopted the internet rapidly. So we've actually got world-class internet connectivity across the country, and that's enabled lots and lots of different industries to evolve and grow. So software as a service wasn't really possible in the early days of the internet. Dial-up, ADSL, the pace of being able to run applications online was really slow. I mean, you two are probably a bit too young for those days.
We'll take that.
But as the internet has evolved, new things can be done. So new opportunities appear. So these new ways of doing things and working online have come about. And we're in a new wave now. So with the rollout of AI technologies, it hasn't just happened as a flash in the pan over the night. It's been building for several years, but it's now getting to that kind of space of being in everybody's face in terms of the impact of AI. And it is going to be like the internet all over again. It's going to create a whole new wave of change. There's going to be winners and losers in this. There's going to be new ways of doing things. And I think we have an opportunity, particularly in the bookkeeping community, to really lean into that and go, how can we actually reimagine a bookkeeping practice of the future 5-10 years from now? What could that look like? And how do we reset ourselves on foundations that are going to be AI native, that we can build and grow on, versus kind of coupling ourselves to infrastructure that's been around for a really long time, done a great job, but is going to struggle to evolve at the same pace.
It's crazy to think about that mindset change. Because at that same CA firm I worked at, I'm good for the stories today. Here we go. I worked there for so many years and I loved that job, but I had my first baby and she was a tiny terror. Like, she was a terrible baby. Like, she did not sleep. It was very exhausting. And when it came time for my maternity leave to end, I actually asked if I could work from home. And I got told no, because it was critical that I was in the office. Fast forward 2 years, right? COVID happened and everyone was working from home. Like, yeah.
Myth busting, eh?
Yeah. And then, like, so much of that evolved though as well, because when I was there, I mean, we've talked about this, I think, in every podcast we've done, Ken, but the shoebox of receipts, like, it was, you can't work from home, you need to be in the office, the shoebox of receipts needs to come in, and, it needs to be done this way because, that reminds me of that. There's this really cool change management book called Who Moved My Cheese? I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It kind of feels like that, eh? Like, this is the way we do it. Oh, someone's asking to work from home. They can't do that because you need to be in the office. Like, COVID changed the mindset of these, you don't want to be rude, but like the old thinkers, I don't know a better term for it. Everyone's lovely, but just that old thinking pushed them out of their comfort zone so quickly. And now we've got such cool stuff. Like, it's so cool.
So with every change, there will be really positive shifts and moves, but in order to get there, you're going to have to let go of stuff, as you go. And it's, so I think we live in a really exciting and interesting time.
We do.
I put up a video recently on LinkedIn. It's just a bit of a business analogy of me surf ski paddling in these big waves. My analogy was that the ocean is constantly shifting and changing around you. And that's like the environment that we operate our businesses in. It is constantly shifting. There's waves coming out of the blue. There's things that we can surf and build up some speed. There's things that slow us down. Some days the weather's sunny, sometimes it's not. There's all of this change happening around us constantly, but we're still in our boat. We're still trying to move forward. And the best we can do is equip ourselves with the right tools and technology and the skills to use those in order to drive our business forward. And I think that kind of holds true, especially now with this kind of AI world. So it's something I kind of reflect on quite a bit.
I
We
believe
actually
I
just
still have
had
that video as well, David. Because when you were saying it, you have because I was the one preparing those videos, and as you were saying them, it sounded so familiar because I had to watch it again and again because I loved it. So
yeah.
There you go.
I was actually well, like Ken and I have recently just had a conversation similar to that. I think it was even this week. Like everything's happening at the same time, and we're just
yes,
two we're just two wonderful women here trying to keep up with everything. But normally we have like, it feels like we can tackle everything, but at the moment, like there's just so much going on
I think
all at the
yeah,
same time.
there seems to be everyone I'm talking to just seems to have so much pressure, and I think a lot of it is there's a lot of economy related stuff, so businesses are doing it tough, and so that has an impact on cash flow. That creates pressure. It impacts payroll. It really focuses people on hustling and making sure that they're getting everything on time, and all of that flows into pressure directly onto the bookkeeping community because they're the ones that are actually the engine behind the scenes keeping all of this moving. And so everyone I'm talking to is just feeling the pressure of pace. And then so you've got people doing their end of year financials, there's audits happening, there's reviews happening, there's a lot
There's
going on.
inland revenue consultations too at
yes,
the same
Yep,
time.
totally. I think the
DIA.
Holidays Act is going to select committee
Yeah.
soon as well. So I think there's just a lot going on, and so it's just whenever I'm talking to folks, it's just trying to be really mindful of the pressures that people are feeling and being appreciative of the time that people are taking to, out of their day-to-day work to have a conversation and even to do things like listen to this podcast. So thank you to those who are listening.
And you know what? Because Sandy and I have also changed our strategy recently, and we're more hands on in getting in touch with our members. And every time I speak to them, I cannot believe how many times the podcasts have been brought up. And I'm like, oh my God, you're actually listening? Or they're telling us this is why I'm signing up for membership because I've heard your podcast somewhere. And I'm
That's cool.
like, pinch me.
We actually we started calling members as well because I don't know if you've noticed, but Ken and I together on our own is like a dangerous combo. So we needed to branch out and talk to other people during the day. Otherwise,
Two
who
of you
knows
on a
what we
roll
could
was a
come up with.
dangerous thing.
It's fun though. It's really good. It's actually great to hear firsthand what the members are thinking or potential members are looking for. So yeah, no, it's awesome.
So to bring this back to count, look, I'm
Yes.
doing your job today, Ken. Oh,
I
I'm so
know.
happy.
I'm doing this side stories now. What's
Yeah.
happening?
I mean, like, there's a reason for me interrupting and bringing us back on. But it just made me think, like, so we talked about Count coming to New Zealand and the reason why, but there's so many software options out there now, going back to like it being the two major players and now it's quite an open field. Like, what do you think Count offers that was kind of missing in the current software landscape? Oh, that's a big question.
It's a great question. I think you're seeing in New Zealand there's emerging players. In the States, there's a couple of also large emerging players, and then some in the UK as well. And all of those, and especially with Count, the reason we're turning up is because there is frustration with the incumbent platforms. They've been around a really long time. In some instances, it almost feels like they've been the only option. And as a result, people have defaulted to a particular way of working. They've defaulted to not looking beyond what else was possible with other tools. That's going, this is the tool you can use because it's the only one that's really available. It's the only one that your accountant puts forward or the only one your bookkeeper puts forward. And that's great from an accounting or bookkeeping perspective because it simplifies life for you in terms of everything's the same, but it doesn't simplify things for your customers in terms of them getting the technology that they need to run their business really effectively. And those platforms haven't evolved or innovated anywhere near enough. Core systems and problems that are embedded in those that haven't changed, yet more and more stuff that keeps being added onto it. And a lot of that is because the core foundations are still locked in that kind of legacy infrastructure. And I learned a lot about the kind of legacy technology stuff when I was at Thank You Payroll. And it's hard to move large established client bases onto new technology. Like really hard. It's much easier to build a completely new business from scratch. And that's what we've done with Count. We've rebuilt accounting from the ground up. We've tried to reimagine what would a single system of record look like for an accounting or bookkeeping practice right through to the client ledgers. what tools does it need to include? And then how do you enable all of that to work natively with AI tools and systems? And so I think that's the bit we play with Count, is we're really looking to be this single accounting infrastructure platform that you can run your entire practice and the businesses for your clients on as well.
Do you think that, like, going back to what you just said about, like, how do you describe it? So there's a lot of bookkeepers, a lot of accountants out there that are, I'm a Xero practice, I'm an MYOB practice, and they've chosen a software to specialize in, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's going back to what you say, that's what people get offered because that's what their bookkeeper/accountant recommends/uses. Do you think that that's a risk? Just like I feel like as a business owner, that would be a huge risk to put all your eggs in one basket anyway. Like a couple of months ago, we had all those outages and it affected so many people. So do you see Count coming in and like sitting alongside, I guess, or like, do you know what I
In
mean?
some instances, yeah, I think so. In some instances, particularly for maybe a practice that is quite wedded to Xero, or sorry, or to an incumbent platform to running their business, they might choose to offer some alternatives to their client base. But we also, with our practice management platform, Count very much wants to be that core technology that helps run your practice. But we also want to set it up in such a way that you can manage all of your customers regardless of what technology they're using in our practice manager, but you can extract so much more value and efficiency if those clients are also using Count for their solution as well. But the benefit for the client will be that because it's all fully AI native, they can build and add on to their Count system as they see fit. And a good example is a lot of legacy technologies in accounting and CRM and other core systems that a business takes on. It'll typically have a marketplace of all these apps and things that you can do. And generally those apps have come about because there's a piece of functionality that the core system doesn't serve. And so this large marketplace grows over a period of time. You pay an extra subscription to access that. But that thing that you're buying, in addition to your core platform, might solve your need, but you might also be buying truckloads of functionality you don't need or will never use. So you're buying like another software platform to plug in. In this kind of new technology world, we're moving from marketplace to a whole raft of different options. So I'm not sure if the two of you are old enough to remember Microsoft Access databases. So,
Plead the fifth.
okay.
And shaking
Not
her
me.
head.
And no, definitely far too young. So Microsoft Access was a really common technology utilized in businesses some years ago. We won't show our age here, Sandy, but I built some systems in Access that solved a business problem. I wasn't a developer, but I was able to use technology to create something that solved a business problem. Vibe coding, as it's called now, or the ability for non-developers to build tools, is that exact same kind of mindset. I've got a problem. I've got some tools that I can use and learn to help solve that problem. And the cool thing is, because it's all AI native, I can now build things that talk directly to my accounting system. So easier than ever to kind of create integrated experiences. I've created some demo apps. I've built like a mobile app that's a summary of all of my accounting functionality, separate from our own mobile app, just to show that it could be done. I built a basic inventory management system, pretending I had a warehouse, and I wanted to be able to kind of check in and check out products and have that sync back into Count with inventory records. So yeah, it's really easy to build things on top of. That's quite different from the marketplace where you're buying something someone else has built. And then the other two big areas that are changing and becoming, creating the what's possible space is the kind of ChatGPT, the Claude, being able to interact and chat to an AI. You can now connect those AIs directly to your accounting system. And with Count, we've probably enabled more functionality than the incumbents by far. So we provide a full read-write capability. So pretty much anything you can do in our Count software, you can do through our APIs and through our Claude interactions. So you can query bills, you can create invoices, you can create tasks. You can do bulk loading of information directly back into the system. So there's a lot of flexibility that allows you to start thinking about, how do I automate workflows? How do I streamline what I do? And then the fourth component leans into that even more, which is this world of agents, which is still quite techie language at the moment, but the idea of being able to build workflows that can kind of think and run on their own and take action in the accounting or in bookkeeping space where there's a lot of compliance. There's a lot you need to think about in that space when it comes to providing human in the loop oversight and governance to make sure that if you're building autonomous workflows, that you've got people at the right point kind of reviewing and checking to make sure things are correct, because the cost of getting it wrong can be massive.
Yeah, it's actually like this is so, I mean, we're not bookkeepers, clearly not accountants either, but we have been using Juicy CRM for how long now, Ken? Probably like
Like almost
a
a year
year.
now.
Yeah. So what you've just described feels the same as Juicy CRM to me. So that's where we're trying to. So we were in that process, like we were in that system, right? We've got a WordPress site, we've got all our subscriptions running through there. We had a separate CRM, we had all these plugins doing things on WordPress that, to manage everything. And we've moved over to Juicy CRM. And shout out to Heidi as well if you're listening, because Heidi's cool. Being in that system, Ken and I are wanting to move everything into there. I've been speaking to Heidi about how we do that, and she told me to use the AI agent in there. And oh my God, it designed a whole CPD register for us. It put up all our workflows for our membership. So it has made it so easy for us to move into that platform. We haven't done it yet, surprise to anyone who's listening who's a member, but it's coming. But before having that option, I would have had to sit here and think, I need to do this in this platform and this plugin and this here to be able to connect this to here. And it was so manual. And now we've managed to set up something where it's so easy for Ken and I to manage things. And so obviously, accounting software, Juicy is just our membership database, but the options are so cool.
Very much. And I think that's the risk of locking yourself into a particular technology now. So I think it's about choosing the right foundation you want to build on. So whether it's a CRM technology or a core accounting technology, pick a foundation that's going to grow with you and evolve with you as fast as the world of technology is going right now. We're at a stage now where people will go, hey, can your system do this? And I go, not today, but let's talk through exactly what you need. Write to the developers overnight, and I've got it in our dev environment the following morning. So we've had some instances where somebody's raised a suggestion. Some of it's just like little paper cuts, things that you just want to improve that, big software vendors just can't tackle because of the volume of stuff they're dealing with. And we're able to kind of turn that stuff around really quickly. We do a major release every 2 weeks. And we released a truckload of stuff last weekend, whole new batch payments process with embedded approvals. And that's all just gone live in the system on Monday this week. Lots of improvements around our practice manager space. And the roadmap for all of that is really exciting. But the one thing that's super exciting, I think, is when you start thinking about workflows and how you manage. So we've got some really cool things we're developing with workflows. So we've got lots of embedded workflows, lots of AI activity happening in Count constantly, AI categorization of transactions, machine learning that's building and learning from all of that as well. We have a workflow tool in the system, and I'm currently mulling on how we can, transform the ability for somebody to, in plain language, to go, I want to build an accounting workflow that does X, Y, and Z, and then to have it graphically build out that flow for you to then refine it and then apply it. And it's, I think that's the space we'll be heading into. So you've got your core database of accounting information. You'll have a whole bunch of workflows that you manage. And the benefit of being able to do that inside the platform is you're not having to pay for extra subscriptions or expenses, or you use those external subscriptions for really specific things and not using it for kind of general functions.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Like the move to Juicy, we've
Yes.
cancelled so many subscriptions already, haven't we, Ken? Because it's just
Yes.
all in there.
It provides a lot of things that we already need. I'm actually supposed to ask you a different question, but while we're on the topic of AI, so Count talks a lot about AI and automation, but where does the human element still matter on this one?
The human element's critical. So I think we have human stuff in the loop constantly in the system. So we're using smart technology to do all of the auto matching of bills and invoices. So when transactions come in, they're automatically picking up and calling out and saying, hey, we think this invoice or this bill matches to this transaction. And it gets that right a lot of the time. But the context of how a business is running is where that human needs to still come in the loop and go, yes, it is that bill, or no, it's not. Because particularly if you've got like transactions at all the same amount, there can be things we go, actually, no, I know that one's sitting over there. So it's what's in the head, definitely needs somebody checking.
So it's the difference between a tool and critical thinking, right? Like the software is the tool. You still need the critical thinking to
Check it's doing it right. And
check it, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things a term I picked up was acceptance fatigue. So if you're in an AI tool and it's constantly asking you for permission to do something, and you get so if it does a workflow 100 times and you go approve, 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 you get into this habit of not checking. You go, yeah, it's right. So if it's been right 100 times and then the 101st time it's wrong, but you're just clicking approve, then you're at risk of introducing inaccuracies into your system. So we need to make sure that when we are bringing humans into the loop, we're doing it at a point where it's really important, and encouraging people to apply that critical thinking at that point in time. We do have lots of kind of just basic automations behind the scenes, picking things up. But there's also simple workflows that we're running. So we've got one where you can do transaction level conversations in Count. Transaction comes in, a bookkeeper can actually add a comment, tag the client on that, and say, hey, what was this transaction for? It actually sends an email to the client to say, what was this transaction for, as a task. So they've actually been assigned a task in our system. Rather than click on the task and go to it and count and update it, they can actually just reply as an email and say, that transaction was for flights from Wellington to Sydney, was for some travel. AI will read the response and auto-categorize or update the category of the transaction based on that email response. So
Okay,
it's just
I've got a question. It's really cool if you send that to your client and they say it's for flights accommodation, right? But the very first episode of this podcast we did with Leanne Jones, she told us an awesome story about one of her clients trying to claim for his underwear, for his work underwear, because they were the most comfortable underwear in the world. So how would your workflow handle if there was a query on what's this for and someone came back with underwear? Would that it wouldn't categorize that, would it? Surely.
not unless you had a category called underwear in the system, but I think that's where that that's where that human oversight is so important, because it doesn't understand the context of whether that that answer is actually truly correct or not. Because in some instances, actually, clothing is a valid expense. Particularly in trades. I'm buying workwear.
Not likely
and there might
underwear, though.
But yeah, absolutely.
We'll never know.
But no, we won't talk about those industries. But yeah, there are industries, where it's, it could be work clothing. So it's it all comes down to context and understanding. And so having that human in the loop is so important still to be able to, know. Yeah, and AI is not going to be able to pick up that nuance.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah,
Count is really an amazing software, because you remember a couple meetings where, there's an opportunity for our members were actually testing the software right now, and they would highly recommend it to other members to go ahead and test it out, which is amazing. But David, for bookkeepers who are hearing about Count for the first time, how would you describe it to them in plain English?
English, gosh. So Count is a modern AI platform to run your bookkeeping business and also manage the books for all of your clients. So effectively, it's one platform that combines, I won't say dozens of tools, but many, many tools into one platform. So from a practice management perspective, we combine task management, time tracking, projects, being able to do like period close and repeating workflows all in one platform. We've got an inbox that we're rolling out in the platform. We've got meetings integration, so you can bring in transcripts from your meetings with your clients and take actions from them. So we're consolidating lots and lots of tools, things that you would have separate subscriptions for, into a single platform. So we're creating a huge amount of efficiency and saving by having it in this single system of record. And then for your clients, the accounting system is this nice, modern, intuitive accounting system. And one of the things that Chris wanted to really tackle when he started building Count was make accounting easy to use for your average business user. A lot of the tools that are out there have been built for accountants and for meeting the needs of compliance. But we still need to make it easy for someone to raise an invoice, to ingest a bill, to take a photo of their receipts, so you don't have a shoebox and it just automatically come in and attach to the transaction. We just need to make things simple and easy and intuitive. So that's my kind of plain language summary, but there's a lot of depth and capability built into all of that as well.
Do you find that, like, we've got a lot of bookkeepers, they'll tend to pick up the software that the client's already on or the accountant uses. Are you finding with the launch that you need to get a lot of accountant uptake for people to change over? Because, I think we've just talked about, like, there's a lot of, like, the mindset of people, like, why change if it's not broken, right? So I imagine it's quite the challenge to get those two, like, you're looking quite often, you're looking at a bookkeeper and an accountant, which are separate. Like, you'd have to convert two people to get one person on. Is that something
We're
that's
actually
been a challenge
Well, you have to convert 3, so you've got to
for the
convert the
client?
original business as well, the client themselves. So we've made the platform really flexible so that an individual business can sign up to Count directly, and most accountants and bookkeepers will work with whatever tools their customers are using. So when it comes to doing things like year-end accounts, which in due course we'll be supporting, and we're building some great tooling there right now, business can use whatever accounting system they need to run their business, and their accountant can actually pick up and use the trial balance out of that system to do their kind of year-end books if they're not already using Count. So that's easy enough. And we've also made it really easy for a business to start using Count, and then there's a button in the settings for managing your team. We just go invite accountant or bookkeeper, and it invites your chosen accountant or bookkeeper. They get an invite, and when that accountant or bookkeeper clicks on the invite, if they're not already in Count, it actually provisions a practice manager environment for them and adds this as their first client. So the idea is we've got kind of two different ways in which we can bring these two groups together. So it's a way of us introducing Count to an accountant. And then once they've got, a client using it, they can start seeing the power of Practice Manager as well. And then we're able to start looking at how we, support that further. And then from an accounting perspective, we have to do lots of demos to accountants and bookkeepers. And then we have a really structured approach to encouraging migration. So we don't expect a bookkeeper or accountant to bring everything across in one go. If you've got 200 customers, bulk migrating all of them all at once, won't work. So we encourage you to start with a wee pilot, bring a couple of clients on, maybe some new customers, bring them on board with Count, get familiar with the product, and then plan them out in waves. So then bring on, a next group of customers and then time that around, end of GST periods or end of financial year, etc. One of the cool things is we can actually, with our bank feeds, we can roll back in time. So you can actually start a new client as of 1 April this year really easily, connect your bank feeds, all your transactions come through from 1 April. AI does an initial pre-categorization of all of that. So we can kind of speed up the ability of onboarding customers into these platforms.
So it's actually easy to migrate mid-year, because I think
Yeah.
traditionally people wouldn't change software platforms until end of financial year, right? Because they're closing it off in this software and opening it up in this one. But that sounds like it's actually quite simple.
Yeah, I mean, so with a lot of the migrations we bring across at the moment are people that are still, say, they're running their incumbent accounting system as of right now in July, and they're going, cool, I want to use this. This is where I want to go. I don't have to wait until March or April next year to do the migration. I can start now, and we'll start fresh as of 1 April this year. And so what we do is we bring across a trial balance as at 31 March from the end of your last financial year, bring across your chart of accounts, connect up your bank feeds so all your transactions come through. And there's a whole process then, or just a kind of migration process we work through to get the books migrated and all set up at once.
Is there, like, I feel like I know the answer to this question, but there's some software out there where you have to pay per seat per person. Are there any limitations on Count for that, or can you, like, invite your whole team?
So we can invite your whole team. So Practice Manager is currently free, and we may introduce some light charging at some stage, but it's going to be marginal. And ultimately, if you've got a whole bunch of Count customers on there, it won't cost. The Count itself is a subscription model and it's pay per tier. And basically those tiers are based on the volume of transactions. We're not looking to feature gate. We've got an update to our multi-currency function coming out in a couple of weeks. And we're making that available across all of our tiers. So if you're a small business that does the occasional invoice, cross-border, then you can use multi-currency in a starter plan at $25 a month. You don't have to move to the top tier to run your small business just because you need multi-currency. So we want to make things simple and easy. So our pricing is not based on per head, but we do have a really strong permissions model that allow you to choose who to invite and what roles to give them. And we've got custom permissions as well, so that you can actually just create your own special permissions for different people.
That's
That's
so
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, exactly. So, David, you've seen how the industry evolved over the years. What changes stand out the most to you?
I think if we look over the last 20 years, the adoption of software as a service has been probably one of the biggest changes. So moving into this, doing everything online, not having installed software on your local computer has meant that you can actually, wherever you've got internet, you can do stuff. That also means wherever you don't have internet, that's harder.
Your cat.
So that's probably, but internet access is becoming more and more ubiquitous. So that's meant that this whole industry of software and web-based development has emerged and become quite mature. To look forward to the next kind of 5-10 years, really hard to predict. The pace of change is exponential at the moment. But I think what you're going to see is people looking at doing work in different ways, using technology to do manual work a lot faster, do things more efficiently, potentially building more complex workflows that talk across lots of different systems. Traditionally, that was really hard to do. You'd have to have developers building really complicated kind of workflow systems. There's been platforms like Zapier and Make and others that have been out for some time where you can kind of wire connectivity between different systems. But you
There's a
still
lot of
need to have,
frustration. Like, I don't know if you've ever
yeah,
tried to set up a Zap, but oh my God,
yeah,
it
oh God.
hurts.
And it's hard, so I think we're getting to a stage where people will be able to start explaining what they want to achieve in plain language, and then have a system built underneath that exactly to meet their needs. And I'm quite inspired by what that unlocks and enables people with ideas or the ability, they can see a problem and they can solve the problem together. And I think that's the thing that's probably going to change the most, is people, if you are in a business and you've got lots of ideas people in your team, they've never had the tools before to be able to kind of deliver on that. And so thinking about what kind of tooling and platform you have in your business to enable your staff to have the agency act and improve, but within really tight constraints of governance and permissions and making sure they're using the right tools the right way. If you've got all that set up, then the ability for a business to be super efficient and effective and enable it to deliver more value to its customers, I think is going to evolve. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that space.
So
Yeah.
what
So,
kind of you go,
oh
Kim?
no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead, Sandy.
Gosh. I was just going to say, what kind of skills do you think are going to become more important over the next few years then? So, like, because it's evolving so quickly, and like you mentioned, that who knows what it's going to be in 5 years, right? Like, what do you think is the most value to, like, I don't know, I feel like it still comes back to the human value for me, like building relationships and connecting with people. But in terms of actually being a bookkeeper and processing, like, what do you think they should focus on to kind of not stay ahead, because you can't stay ahead at this point, but to keep up?
Mm, I'd probably summarize it as curiosity. So being constantly curious, being able to ask questions in lots of different contexts. So seeing a problem and then going, why does that problem exist? And then digging further and go, well, why does the underlying problem exist? And kind of being able to get quite analytical. And the great thing is bookkeepers are typically quite analytical people. And if you apply that with a level of curiosity, you can actually unpick and understand a problem really well. And once you understand the problem, then you can do something about it. And the tooling now means that you can do something about it so much faster. And you can test things and explore. So curiosity, experimentation, I think are really kind of key essential attributes for anyone in a kind of in a space where they're working or interacting with technology.
Do you think that bookkeepers kind of undervalue their role in that process? Because, like, I've been around bookkeeping community for quite a few years now. Well, we should really need to come up with a different phrase for that, Ken. It makes me feel old. But I feel like when I first started working with bookkeepers, it was an unknown profession. Like, people didn't really value what bookkeepers offered, and it feels like the tide on that is changing slowly, but it's getting there. So, do you feel like bookkeepers are seen as valuable in that role? Like, have you seen a change in that? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is definitely, I get asked for bookkeeper referrals quite regularly. So people acknowledging that people are starting to realize that accountants and bookkeepers are actually different disciplines. And so they're starting to understand what discipline they need to solve their own particular business problems. So I think bookkeepers being called out as a need, I'm seeing more and more. So I guess that is an element of recognition.
and
In
I
terms of,
assume that when someone asks you for a bookkeeper referral, you send them to the NZQBA website and the Find a Bookkeeper page, right? Or your wife. Your wife is an acceptable alternative.
my wife
Nice
is the
segue,
first one.
Sandy.
Yeah. Okay, we can be second.
But I mean, one of the things, particularly with Count, what we're looking at doing is building out a community of bookkeepers and accountants that use Count day to day. So they will ultimately become our first referral partners. So people that know the product and can help support people on that journey. So that's a core focus for the second half of this year, is to really build out that community and move from early adopters to early promoters. And we're exploring how we start training the industry in Count. So looking at running kind of a series of training webinars. So we'll talk about that a bit later on in terms of how we can really give people the tools to understand it. But yeah, I think in terms of, do accountants value themselves, bookkeepers value themselves? I think there's still a bit to go yet. And so I still see a lot of bookkeepers kind of downplay the expertise that they bring. They bring a lot of technical knowledge about how accounting works, but they're also that interface with the customer, and they're the day-to-day interface. And they're the one that actually says, no, the underwear is not a business expense. They're the ones that are actually helping keep their clients compliant, and saving them from getting themselves into trouble later. And so they're much closer to the action than, say, an accountant generally is. And so they're well placed to really understand client problems, and they're also really well placed to help solve those client problems. So as they become more au fait with workflows and technology, they can actually help clients, improve their businesses and make them more efficient. I've been involved in judging in a range of different forums and the various recognitions of bookkeepers across the industry. And I see a lot of bookkeepers getting quite intimately involved with the workings of their client's business, because they are well positioned they've got that curiosity, the analytical mind, and the mandate from their customer to help make them more efficient. I think there's some huge opportunities for the bookkeeping space.
We try very hard to show the value, don't we, Ken? Like,
Yes.
we've done lots of videos. Check out our reels on Facebook and Instagram.
And yeah, we don't. Yes, that's right. Yes. So I'm just wondering, was there anything that surprised Count when entering the New Zealand market?
The appetite for change is super high, so probably higher than I expected. So the incumbents have certainly not helped themselves in recent years with, repeated price increases, slow pace on innovation, and focus on countries outside of New Zealand. So a lot of New Zealand customers are starting to feel like they've been kind of deserted and left behind. That is what I'm hearing. I've done 100 plus demos in the last few months, and there's very few folks that are not open to a conversation about new technologies and new ways of doing things. So that's probably surprised me, just that the appetite for a conversation. The thing that's become quite clear is that we need to do more than just sell technology. We need to help organizations on that change journey, particularly a bookkeeping firm or accounting firm where you're looking at migrating hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of clients. We need to really lean into having a process that we can, or in a kind of a way of migrating people across, that doesn't disrupt their business. And we need to give them the confidence so they can do this in a way that allows them to move their business across, keep operating, because that pace of change is so quick. And then they can't afford to kind of down tools and shift from one system to another. So we need to be able to kind of phase in and bring people on that journey.
Is there anything that has surprised Count about how different New Zealand bookkeepers are? Like, I imagine you're sending these development requests to people in the States, right? And they're probably sitting there going like, why the hell are they doing, well, excuse my language, why the heck are they doing that? That's not what an American bookkeeper would do, kind of thing. Like, is there an element of that? Like, why?
There is. I mean, I think there, in some respects, we do operate quite differently. I mean, the fundamentals of bookkeeping and accounting, 500 years old, 80% of accounting is largely the same worldwide. The cultural and country-specific details, there are some big differences. So we haven't had checks in New Zealand for a very long time. If you create a US instance of Count, there's actually a print check function built into the system because it supports checks.
Oh my God.
They don't have GST, whereas we do. So we've had to help educate the team on what is GST, how does it work? But that's part of the reason going multi-country from day one is so that we can learn the differences of different accounts. We learn that 20% difference. And so we're building for that. And the reason for using New Zealand is because GST is similar to VAT, similar to GST in the States. And so once we've got it nailed here, it's much easier to replicate. But back to your point, that I don't get too many requests of people going, where the team come back and go, that's a bit weird.
Because they think it and just go ahead and do it and not say anything.
But I think the day-to-day bookkeeping stuff is still largely the same. Probably the biggest difference I saw was just the language around reconciliation. So I think in New Zealand, we've become quite trained to think of the daily review of transactions coming in and using the incumbent software and clicking OK, and reviewing the transactions and making sure they're all matched. The vernacular here in New Zealand is largely that's reconciliation. You're reconciling the transaction, against the bill or the invoice, but it's actually not the case. So a full reconciliation is taking your bank statement and matching that to what's in your system. Have you got all of the transactions not only correctly coded and matched to invoices and bills, but are you making sure you're not missing any transactions that are on your bank statement? And so we've had to change the language in our system. So we have a bank reconciliation feature in the US version of Count, but in the New Zealand version, we've called it a bank statement audit and we don't actually have a reconciliation appear anywhere in our navigation. So people review transactions and they do an audit of the bank statement. And once that audit's done, it actually locks the books for that period as well, because everything has then been fixed and confirmed. So there's definitely some language changes, and that's probably the big one.
Yeah. So when you said language changes, I was assuming you were going to say something about the Z versus S, but that's a much better example, David.
What actually surprised me.
Well, we have actually done the Z versus S stuff as well. So we've actually gone through the whole interface. Haven't been able to do it absolutely everywhere, but where we're talking New Zealand specific functionality, then organisation is spelt with an S as it should be, and not with a Z.
Yeah. What surprised you, Ken? Give us a story. I love when you have a Ken story.
No, it's not a big story. Because while David was talking about it, I was also researching it because I've never been to the US, and it just surprised me that they don't have any form of GST and VAT. And I was like, so what? Like, how does the US federal government like what do they rely on then? So that's very surprising, and new learning for me today. Thanks for that, David.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. They've got all sorts of other taxes though, and they vary state to state. So there's a lot of complexity under the hood to support US-based businesses, but it's structurally very different to the kind of GST VAT model.
Also, their tipping system is crap.
Oh, yeah.
When I lived there, I had a cell phone that was really cool, and it had a tipping calculator, because not only is taxes different in each different state, the tip rate is different in each state. So you travel across the country and it's like, 10%, well, it's probably not 10% now, 10% here, 12% here, 20% in this state. So I had this really cool thing on my phone where it told me what the tipping rate was in the state that I was in, so I didn't annoy the waiter and get, them spitting in my food or anything.
Yeah.
Gross. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good times. Do some more research on that, Ken.
I know that, and that really got me interested because my husband wants to go to the US to watch one of the NBA games, and we have been trying to postpone it because I feel like we have other better countries to visit. But yeah, and I think that's one of the other thing as well because people always tell me that it's so expensive to eat out in the US too because I think everyone is now
Yep.
expecting like a 20% tip on top of what you pay there. So yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it's quite different.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, do you have any more questions for David before we move on to our quick fire round, Sandy?
No, I will let you have your fun. Do we need to do the intro or are you going to do it today?
No, you do the intro because you know what I
Okay.
mean. Because otherwise, you have to intro me.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, I'm not prepared for this. Need to get my intro voice on. All right, it's time for the quick fire round with Ken and David. Come on down, David.
No, you
Is
do.
the price
Actually,
right?
you have to be worried. I know you've practiced this, but we have completely changed the questions for you today,
I
David.
expected nothing less.
You know how this works. We're gonna ask you a few questions here of like this and that, and all you need to do is come up with an answer without thinking. Okay, so blurt whatever comes out of your mind, and Sandy over here will try to guess your answer, and I will check back with her later on how many she got right or how well she knows David.
Thank you for reminding me
Alrighty.
that I needed to keep track.
It's okay. Yeah, I know I could have just like put you on the spot, but anyway, I am feeling nicer today. So, David, are you ready?
I guess so. Here we go.
First question, mountain bike or walking boots?
Mountain bike.
Build it yourself or buy the software?
Build it yourself. Beans.
You
Oh,
can't
there
Build
you
it
have it.
yourself.
I'm going to make you choose one. Which one is it? Build it yourself or buy
Go
the
build
software?
yourself.
Okay. Customer feedback or gut instinct?
Customer
David,
feedback.
say the first thing like okay. Early morning mission or sleeping in?
Early morning.
Startup energy or established business?
Well, we're a startup. So startup energy.
Barbecue with friends or dinner out?
What was the first one?
Barbecue with friends or dinner out?
I like dinner out.
North Island or South Island?
Oh, come on. I grew up in the south and I live in the north.
Exactly,
Probably
David.
south.
Yes.
Oh, AI assisted or keyboard shortcuts?
AI assisted for me, I think.
Okay, well, let's see how you did, Sandy. Sandy actually only got two things wrong. So she chose gut instinct instead of customer feedback, and she chose barbecue with friends instead of dinner out.
There you go.
I knew you'd go South Island too, because we know that you're a great outdoors man. And I was thinking, when I saw it, I was like, he's going to go South Island. And then when you said that about living in the North Island, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be wrong on that too. But thank you.
You're welcome. So I like coming from a gut instinct, but I think it's particularly in startup, it's super important to actually validate your gut thinking with actual real customer feedback. So I think you start with a gut instinct, but then you move to actual validation through customer feedback. So that's why I was like, oh, that's on a spectrum, some of it.
So it's kind of half wrong then.
Yeah. Half right, half right, half
Well,
right.
that's right.
Super half right.
Oh, half
Yeah,
right. Yes, thank you.
yeah, exactly. All right, now, David, we are gonna test you and see how fast you can finish the sentence. So I'm gonna start with like the sentence, and then you have to finish it up. Good bookkeeping isn't about numbers; it's about
People.
oh, okay. Technology should help people buy.
Enabling them to do what they love.
Aw, it's
Okay,
cute.
so far you're doing so well. The biggest opportunity AI creates for bookkeepers is
To grow efficiently.
well, have you sent
I think
these
you're
questions to David in advance, Sandy? So far, he's doing
no,
really
but
well.
I think you're starting to stump him because he's taking a while to
Yeah,
come out with them, really.
yeah, exactly.
I want to
If
sound
every
considered.
if every business owner understood one thing about bookkeepers, it would be
How essential they are.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely. 5 years from now, bookkeeping will
look quite different to how it is today.
Yes. You're so consistent with your answers as well earlier. I love that. One thing I hope people remember about count is
That it's the core infrastructure that encompasses everything they need to run their practice and support their clients.
that is such a good way of promoting count. Well done, David. You did so well in our quick fire round. Woohoo! And because of that, you are winning a prize too. Nah, nothing. You just
I thought you were going to say Fiji. Then I was going to say, Ken, we need to have a chat about
he might.
budgets.
I know he might expect it, and I'm like, well, that might come out of my salary, David. So, but thank you so much for answering that one. Well done.
It's not done yet, Ken.
Yeah, no,
I've got a present for you guys too.
Oh, is it a trip to Fiji?
No, it's a poem.
You want to hit it with us now before I give you my surprise?
Well, if you want. So it just happens I'm going to be on stage on the weekend, and I've prepared some slam poetry that I've been working on with my friend Claude, and about bookkeeping. And so I thought because this won't be published for a wee while, I thought I'd share it with you now, because it'll have a life beyond just a few seconds on stage. So it runs for about 60 seconds, and here we go. You ready?
Yes, we are.
Cool. Bookkeeping. Say it slow. The only word in all of English wearing 3 double letters in a row. Double O, double K, double E. The language itself decided this trade deserved to repeat. And here's another, older than the lot of us. The system you live in is 500 years old. Older than the steam engine, older than the company, older than the bank. Debits, credits, 2 columns that balance. The oldest tech in business, and it still runs the world. 5 centuries, same hard yakka. Reconcile, repeat, GST, repeat. 1st of March, creeping up the calendar. The coding, the chasing, the copy and paste. Your head was always in it. It just never had the room. Now hear the facts that are getting wrong out there. AI is not the end, it's the upgrade. More automation means more to oversee. Because the bank feed knows the amount, it doesn't know the why. It can't hear the phone call, it wasn't at the site visit. It didn't know that the job went sideways in June. The context lives nowhere in the system, it lives in you. The machine takes the mechanical, you take the meaning. Trust doesn't automate. Accountability still lands with a person. 500 years you carried the pen, we gave it a brain, so you've got the room to be the mind. So NZQBA, double O, double K, double E, your clients won't need less of you, they'll need more. Come find, blah, blah, blah. This is the future where we do the counting, so you've got the space to do the thinking. Count, we'll do the maths, you bring the meaning.
Oh, well done. Take a bow.
Does it read all right?
Actually, at the start there, because I've got young kids, obviously, playroom background. I felt like that could have almost been a Dr. Seuss poem.
Yeah,
it's getting that way.
How to teach
I should redo it as a Dr. Seuss one.
You even had the tone of voice though, I felt like I was listening to a Dr. Seuss.
I've read lots of bedtime stories.
Yeah.
I hope they were not boring accounting and bookkeeping ones to put your kids to sleep.
Well, I had actually a special skill where I could actually, when I was reading bedtime stories to my kids, I mean, they're 19 and 21-year-olds now, but in the early days, I'd read to my girls, and I actually used to read myself to sleep.
Did you?
And they'd shake me awake. Dad, you need to finish the book.
Man.
Tiring being a parent.
That's a skill also.
I love that.
My own boring dulcet.
Oh, that's so funny.
You should ask them about that now and see if they remember.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, girls, they do.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
All right.
Cool.
Well, now that you've given us that gift, I've got a gift for you. It's not really a gift, I'm sorry. So I live in Pukekohe in Auckland, and I am a member of the Franklin Bookkeeping Networking Group. Now, some may be surprised by that because I say it all the time, I'm not a bookkeeper, but these poor ladies took pity on me because I had no one to be friends with, so they let me join their group and they let me come along to their catch-ups, and sometimes I understand what they're talking about in our group
and
chat.
And they're lovely ladies as well, they're awesome. So lovely.
Hi, Franklin Bookkeeping Networking Group. That's a mouthful. We need to change the name. Anyway, I mentioned to them, because, they know we do a podcast. I mentioned to them that we were going to be doing an episode with you, and they gave me some questions for you. So it's not just 10 quickfire questions today, it's the Franklin Bookkeeping Networking Group questions. So clearly this is not prepared. So I'm just going to read some of the questions for you. I just need to scroll back through the group as well just to find the right ones. Do you have a soft line limited per month for GST calculation? I do not understand the question, but I hope you do.
No, we don't. So I think the incumbent systems have a limit of 2,000 transactions in a GST return. We have no limits.
Okay, good. There we go. That one was for Elaine. Where will you be in a year's time, i.e. report packs for annual accounts? It's very hard to read this and that at the same time.
So report packs for annual accounts are already built. So we've been working on a pilot with an accounting firm in Wellington and have built a complete workbench with the initial focus was on rental properties, but we've built it so that it will scale to multiple use cases. And so basically you can create templates of period closes for monthly GST periods or annual closes. And that has a fully embedded report pack functionality that allows you to configure which accounting reports to add and a lot of configuration options in terms of how you can regroup accounts, represent accounts, and do notes to the financial statements. So already there.
Yay!
That's exciting.
I did ask them a few weeks ago, sorry. I might be out of date.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
can say we built it.
next one. When will the MYOB migration support be in place?
We probably need some people to help us with that migration. So often new features and ways of supporting our customers come because people present a challenge or a problem to us. So I think if we've got some MyOb customers to migrate, then really keen to work with those bookkeepers to establish how we can do that, because we need actual trial balances and things to work with to get that process working smoothly. Having said that, the AI technology that we've launched over the last 4 weeks means that we can actually use external tools like Claude and ChatGPT to help seed new setups. So I'd love to work with someone trialing that. So rather than have to build the functionality into account, we can actually use this tooling just to set up new accounts easily.
Perfect. I might have some people who can help you with that. Right. And I've only got one more, and this is from Sharon. And Sharon really wants to move to Count, but she wants to know, are you working on bank feeds to business bank accounts as opposed to personal? And I believe this relates to BNZ. So can you help Sharon out?
So 2 weeks ago, we went live with BNZ Business Banking Direct. So we've solved that for BNZ. And so BNZ have proprietary business APIs that we were able to plug directly into. Open banking, so all of the banks, including BNZ, have gone live with open banking API standard. The implementation of that standard by the banks has not fully supported all types of business banking. So there are some ways in which business banking can be surfaced through open banking. It's outside of our control. And so we're working with our intermediary and with clients as they're coming on board. But we have clients that are with us that are with Westpac, with KiwiBank, ASB, ANZ, and BNZ, and all successfully syncing. There are some occasions, and it's good to probably just double check whether we can get those bank feeds working with some specific clients. But by and large, for a majority of clients, we should be able to support. All of the banks have until June of 2027 to have full support for business banking with open banking APIs. So I'm counting the days. So I was a bit gutted that got pushed out to June next year. But we are live with all the banks right now, and we do have clients with all the different banks currently in the system.
Yay! There you go, Sharon. That one's just for you. I
And-
happen to know she's on a massive 3-month holiday in Europe right now. So she probably doesn't care, but we'll make sure she knows when she comes
When
back
she
that
comes
you're
back,
ready for
yeah.
her. Yeah.
Exactly.
She'll listen to this on the train somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Might grill the
Or
group.
by the time that this podcast comes out, Sharon is actually listening in
Yes.
and
Yeah.
already enjoying the count features.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, that was all the questions from my lovely bookkeeping people who adopted me.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. And just to wrap everything up today, David, what are you most excited about?
I'm excited about lots of things. I think we're in the midst of a capital raise right now out of our state's head office. And what that unlocks for us will be more people on the ground in New Zealand. So I think that's what excites me the most, is that it can go from being me mostly full-time with a bit of Matt to having a team of us being able to support our client base locally in New Zealand. So really excited for having local people that we can engage more closely with in the community.
Just like on that note, Ken and I are available, because I remember having a meeting with Matt and Chris, and we talked about how we offered to visit them in their Seattle office. So, I mean, if you want to put us down as an
first.
employee, like obviously Ken's husband needs to see an NBA game. I'm not sure if Seattle's any good at NBA, but I mean, we're willing to put ourselves out there to help you out if you need.
It's a great offer, and I'm sure to put it to Chris to
Yeah.
take into consideration.
Yeah.
What? I think it was also like, was it Derek?
Yes, Derek. Derek's
Yes.
cool.
Yes. So we had the
Yeah.
agreement signed, sealed, delivered with him. It's like, I never had that conversation with them. But yeah.
You're under pressure now, David. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, but I think, in terms of being excited, our ability to grow our team locally is a
Yes.
really exciting kind of stage for us. And then just our ability to continue responding to client feedback, just to make the platform an amazing thing. But rather than what I'm really excited for is people that want to lean into the technology with us. So rather than wait for the perfect system, which will never appear, because I mean, you look at the incumbents, there's still things that people want it to do that it hasn't done for many, many years. So we want people to come on this journey with us and help us make it amazing and solve all of your problems now. And that's what I'm really excited for. So I think we live in this technology space where we can change and respond, really quickly.
Now, because you're also a person, what are you excited for personally, David?
Hmm.
Have you got any kayaking trips coming up? Bit of hiking, taking your
I've
wife
got
to
some.
Fiji?
Well, we went to Fiji at Christmas. So I think wife and I need to do another trip somewhere a bit further afield. We're well overdue
Come
to.
to the Philippines.
Yeah, so we need to go to. Well, I've never been to the Philippines actually. It's probably need to
Yeah,
come
you'll
over
love
there.
it here. Come
Yeah.
here.
I
So
know where
if
there's a tour guide for you if you need.
any account
Exactly.
opportunities in Philippines, Ken, so I can turn this into a work trip.
You'd be interested to know that the accounting system and bookkeeping system in the Philippines is probably still in the 1990s. Like, we have a really, really big mall here. It's called SM. And the owner of that mall is, I think, the richest in the Philippines and probably one of the top 20 richest person in the whole world, like billionaires, right? Because they have a lot of SM mall stores. And it really baffled me to see that when they're trying to change cashiers over, they still have to manually bring their notebooks and write down on it. I'm like, where does all your money go? Like, why are the cashiers still doing this? Like, the entire line full of people will have to wait for 5 minutes while the two cashier like hand over and they bring their own tray of money that they have collected.
Crazy.
I think there's an R&D opportunity for you to go to the Philippines on a work trip.
Absolutely.
Only if Ken and I get Seattle too.
Oh, sounds like a trade. So good.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I definitely a lot of opportunities. Like, there's so many businesses in the Philippines and a lot of good spender here, but the accounting system here is definitely not keeping up. Like, we still have like post-dated checks.
Well,
I was just going
Yes.
to say that. Do you have checks?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I was so surprised. Like, like before I didn't care about all of this stuff, but then when I moved to New Zealand for 10 years, like work for bookkeeping association and have a little bit more information or knowledge about this, when I came back to the Philippines, I'm like, oh my God, we are so behind.
Yeah,
yeah.
but hang on. This doesn't make sense. Like, you guys are really behind. Still doing checks. That sounded terrible and rude. Sorry to the whole of Philippines. I remember you telling me that you pay your bills by text message over there. Isn't
Exactly.
it?
So that's the other thing as well. So it's so weird. I'm not sure if we're ever doing this in New Zealand in the future, David, but here in the Philippines, transferring money is so much easier than New Zealand as well. So it's so ironic because this actually happened during the pandemic when one of the telecom company tried to adopt to it because like cashless during that time, right? So they introduced QR codes, and I think like and we also have like InstaPay in here. So if you're wanting to pay something, everyone has a QR code, or your the digital bank app here have the capacity to generate a QR code, and you can just like transfer money to each other, and it doesn't matter which banks you're from, or even like just using your own mobile number, you can transfer money immediately. It doesn't need an hour or whatsoever. So it's, like they're advanced in that manner, but really behind on like bookkeeping and how they do accounting here.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So come over here for research, for R&D, David, so that you can, go back to New Zealand and Australia with all, sorry, to US with all of this like QR thing, maybe.
Yeah, don't go to Australia.
I think payments is definitely a space that's growing. There's lots of payment providers now in New Zealand allowing bank-to-bank payments through various kind of mobile apps and QR codes. So I think it's evolving quite rapidly, which is
Yeah.
good to see.
Yeah. I like my kids' school, they use Kindo. And so when they're asking for money, which is all the time, right? Like you just go into Kindo and you pay it through the Paymark. Oh, it's not called Paymark anymore. Worldline. You just click pay and it opens up. You put your phone number in and it opens up in the banking app, and I just go okay, and then it's gone. It's very
They just
cool.
get more expensive as they get older.
Really? Give me something to look forward to. My 7-year-old's actually just started getting into makeup, and I was thinking, oh my God, like first of all, I'm the wrong parent to help you with this, right,
Yeah,
Ken?
'cause you
Me and
don't wear
makeup
makeup,
don't go
yeah.
well together. And then second of all, she was asking for all these like makeup brushes and stuff, and I was just like, you're 7. No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we digress.
Yeah. So, David, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really
Most
interesting
welcome.
hearing. Yes, it's been really interesting hearing not just about Count and the New Zealand launch, but also your perspective from being connected to the bookkeeping industry for so many years.
No, it's been great.
I think what stood out for me was that this conversation wasn't really about technology, /AI replacing people. It's about how better systems and smarter tools can actually create more space for bookkeepers to do the work that really matters.
And it's always great talking to someone who genuinely understands the New Zealand bookkeeping community and the realities of small business here.
Thanks again for joining us, David, and we can't wait to see what Count does next in New Zealand or Seattle.
Or wherever in the world. And
Yeah.
thank you to everyone as well listening to Behind the Books with Ken and Sandy. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, share it with another bookkeeper, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you both. It's been a joy talking to you today.
We'll talk to you anytime, David.
Exactly. Thank you, David. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Books with Ken and Sandy. We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of bookkeeping with us. Don't forget to check out www.nzqba.co.nz for more insights, resources, and updates. Until next time, keep crunching those numbers and having a laugh along the way.